Okay, so today I want to talk to you about all things cattails. Since we're still just foraging to stay alive, you need to go out into your community, identify the cattail. Most of you have seen these, but they're ubiquitous. There's 7 to 10 varieties, and they grow in almost every ecosystem near water, a wetland. They're pretty resilient, but best of all, every part of them is edible, and they're edible in the winter, spring, summer, or fall. In the spring, early spring, you can harvest this part of the cattail, and it will be an immature flower. It will look a little like corn on the cob, and in fact, the indigenous people used to harvest this portion, the immature portion, as a flower. They would grill it and enjoy it with salt or pepper if they had it like corn on the cob. In the summertime, early to midsummer, you would harvest down at the base of the cattail, and I brought some cattail roots. Actually, let me pull up the roots that I harvested, so you can see what the roots look like. Pretty darn messy, but in the early spring, this part from the root, top of the root to about here, would be green and tender, like similar to an asparagus texture. And you would harvest that part of the root, and you would cook it just like asparagus, and enjoy it. It's super nutritious, loaded with vitamins, and I'll go over that in a minute. Now, in the summer, in the winter or in the fall, you can harvest the roots. And it is fall now, so I am harvesting the cattail roots. Let me show you what the roots look like when you pull them out of the ground, just so you can see firsthand. Now, it's a little messy to harvest cattails, but the beauty is you can almost pull them out with your hands. I use a shovel, and if you dig around them, I just dig around and I will just pull it up, loosen the soil under the plant. It's swampy, so you would probably want to have on a good pair of boots. So as part of your preparedness in a pre-industrial world, that's if the electricity collapses, and that's my intent, to prepare you to survive even without the grid, without the electrical grid. But if you don't have a shovel, these are plants that you can pull out by hand. And in the fall and in the winter, they will be there because they are roots. They're related actually to the grasses. They are in fact a grass, and they grow everywhere there's water. There's several different varieties, and aside from maybe the desert, they grow in a myriad of ecosystems. So today, I've harvested the root, and I'm going to teach you how to prepare it in a way that's very nutritious and delicious. You can cook them on your stove now, but in worst case scenario, if everything goes down, in one of my earlier videos, I suggested and strongly encouraged you to get a Dutch oven. This is a porcelain-lined one, but they also have cast iron ones. I'd get one of each, because a cast iron, this has a porcelain lining, but remember that cooking in cast iron will enable your body to get some much needed iron. That being said, get yourself a Dutch oven. You need something to cook food in if the grid goes down. And then basically rinsed off the cattails, diced them up like this, just like making mashed potatoes. Add the water, just like making mashed potatoes. And since it's a nice porcelain-lined Dutch oven, you would put it straight on the grill in a grid down scenario, or maybe on your wood-burning stove. And you would boil it. Again, tastes like mashed potatoes. It's high in starch, like mashed potatoes are very, very high in starch. You could also put it on a wood-burning stove, or as long as the electricity holds, start eating cattails and preparing them now like mashed potatoes, and putting that money towards some other preparedness, your savings towards other preparedness supplies. So after they've boiled a minute on the grate, again, I'm introducing pre-industrial tools. This is a mixer. This is how people used to mix up a lot of things. So they've softened, mix them up. I add a little butter, a little salt, a little pepper, and garlic, if you have garlic. And they're absolutely delicious. They're a touch sweeter than mashed potatoes, but again, they're like mashed potatoes. They're like a potato. They're a root. And it's going to provide you with a necessary carbohydrate. And it's a lot easier to harvest cattails than it is barley. So it will provide you with a necessary carbohydrate. In addition, in the flour and the young tender shoots, which they call corms, actually, there is a word for those shoots. But in the flour and in the young tender shoots, they are filled with beta carotene, niacin, riboflavin, thiamine. What else is in there? Potassium, phosphorus, many of the things that you would get in a potato, a lot of fantastic minerals. But in addition, the cattail root is going to provide you with vitamin A, vitamin K, and vitamin C, far more than you would get in a mashed potato dish. So there's actually an advantage to eating cattails above mashed potatoes. You're going to get more nutrition in the root of a cattail. Super good for you. Many Native American tribes subsisted on cattails as their primary carbohydrate. And I dare say the Native Americans were much healthier than current Americans. Just like mashed potatoes. And here is the cattail with the butter, the garlic, the salt, the pepper. Super good.